Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me again for this round 3 deployment tips video. This is the third video, obviously, of the UKTC layout. We are running through deployment tips you can utilize for the Death Guard army or anything that's got sort of similar infiltrator and scout moves, and how we can use those best with Potswalkers and the spawn. Also, with the Land Raider, not a commonly used piece in the Death Guard army, and didn't get a reduction in the latest data slate like everyone else's Land Raiders. Not sure why, but that's fair. So yeah, we're going to take a look at round 3 now. Round 3 is one of my favourites as an aggressive playstyle player, being able to get up close and personal with the opponent and have the sort of shock and awe factor. Going first, you can move the Land Raider, get out 3, have multiple charge points. If you've got the spawns that are going to go and push out aggressively and potentially make charges as well as the Potswalkers, you can really sort of pen the opponent back, and yeah, you can put them on the back foot straight away. But you can also counterpunch quite strongly going second. So we're going to run through round 3 now. I hope you enjoy. If you do, please do like and subscribe and leave some comments down below. And I'll see you on the next one. So here we are for round 3, and this is Search and Destroy, which is the quarters table layout, and we are playing Hidden Supplies. Now, Hidden Supplies changed in the mission pack compared to the previous iterations in 10th. So the way that you score in this one is you get 5 primary for holding 1 objective that isn't in your deployment zone. You get 5 more for holding 2 that aren't in your deployment zone, and then you get 5 additional bonus points if you hold more total of the deployment zones. So this one is actually quite surprisingly difficult to score highly on primary. Obviously, there's so many objectives to hold. It's probably likely that you're going to be jostling back and forth with your opponent, with denying specifically the sort of the center. There will probably be fights going off down here and up here. You should always still be holding your home because it does count towards that hold more. But obviously, holding this doesn't get you either the 5 points for the mid objectives. So you are going to be in a bit of a war zone across the specifically sort of the middle of the board. So what you want to be doing is setting yourself up in a good position to capture the sort of external objectives with as fewer resources as possible, and whether that is something that you can utilize with the infiltrate or the scout, or by dropping something down with deep strike. That's what we're going to take a look at now. So one of the things that I do see people do with their Potswalkers is they think that they want to go for this sort of objective down here. Most people sort of are going to be deploying in this sort of ruin, and you don't want to be putting anything here because obviously if the opponent goes first, they can just shoot them off the board, and it's a wasted unit because the angles across here or potentially down the line sight down the middle here. There's not any truly sort of great lines of sights compared to the previous one, but if someone is sort of holding this and they can strap reserve, say a Predator or a Dreadnought or something like this, they do have this sort of line across here. So anything in this sort of area denial section of the board is going to probably not survive the turn. It's going to need to be something really chunky to be able to survive all the shooting that the opponent and the charging, because they probably are going to have a strong melee threat hidden behind this wall as well. So you really need to be sort of careful and specific about your placements here. And this is a trap that I see people fall into quite a lot. So if you get first drop with your infiltrates, I definitely wouldn't be going here for it. I think this side is sort of a trap for the red player. I think this side is much better for the blue player because the way that the runes are set out, if these guys are here, to be able to shoot the Potswalkers, they don't have to expose anything really down this line. You can hide them, and you're obviously going to be wanting to one-inch the wall. Otherwise, you just give them an easy charge from whatever sort of melee threat could be hiding here, because they'll move here, they'll charge on this side of here, and then they'll just consolidate onto the objective, and they'll be behind this ruin. So here is a place that I see people go, and I don't personally like it. So they could just easily get sort of a line, unless you are super squidged in, but they could get a line there, or they could come up to just here and get a line in here, and they'd still be hidden away from most of your shooting. So not a great place here for me personally. What I tend to do here, because it is such a close quarters map, I tend to go up here. And what this allows me to do is obviously threaten to easily score something up here. But because you are wanting to the wall, to get any sort of line of sight onto these potswalkers here, they have to start walking out into this sort of like dead zone here. It's a really wide angle, and if you're able to just poke something over the edge here, whether that be a blight hauler or whether that be a heavy blight launcher drone, or in my case the Land Raider with the las cannons, people aren't going to want to put something that could, if you roll high, just pop, say, 200 points. If they put a dreadnought out here, risk trying to kill these potswalkers or whatever it is, then it's just going to be out in the middle of nowhere. So these potswalkers here force a positive trade in your direction, whereas these ones could potentially die for free because they can just shoot you from here. So yeah, for me personally, this would be my first drop every time. It allows you to sort of control the whole left side of the board, because you've got these here. You can potentially put another set up here if you really wanted to, but it also allows you to potentially put the heavy blight launcher drone, which I sometimes do up here, because that just pokes up here as well. So if they go, oh, I'm going to sort of do something here, or I want to be able to charge these and still hide from the shooting on this angle, the heavy blight launcher drone here can sit sort of out here, is free from all the shooting down here, but you'll still be able to see into this ruin here. So drop one for me is the potswalkers on this ruin, not on the objective, because you don't want to be giving away overwhelming force for no reason, or storm hostile, or whatever it is. But yeah, for me, they go here. And one added bonus of this, depending on, again, if it's a shooter or a melee army, you can even put these up against the wall, because if they do go up against the wall, they aren't consolidating onto this piece here, or they probably won't be able to get everyone through the wall to do that, or they'll be consolidating to this objective here because of the 6 objectives. So they are still out in the open for you then to come out and punish whatever does that. So if it's not something that's crazy fast, that's going to just drop in here and then come over here, but again, you've still got angles onto them by this sort of play here. So for me, I really like having the potswalkers here. And then if you go first, you can actually just go, cool, I'm moving the 5 inches here, and then you've got a 4-inch charge or whatever it is against the opponent here, because remember, on Search and Destroy, it's the closest possible deployment you can have, because it's just a 13-inch deployment from corner to corner. So having infiltrate there within obviously 9 inches away, you can follow those potswalkers up with quite a strong threat. So for me, potswalkers go up in the top left corner if you're the red, not the bottom right. So moving on to the next little trick that I see very often happen if the opponent has some sort of infiltrating units, obviously the typical one here being sort of Space Marine player with the Scout Squad. They say this is sort of the favoured objective to be infiltrating on with their scouts. It's you split the board left and right based on whichever position you are. They will almost certainly put the scouts in this sort of position because they can infiltrate and they have the 6-inch scout move. So what they're essentially doing is dropping it down to block off this part of the board, and then if they go first or second, their intent is always to probably go and be 1 inch behind this wall. So they would just do this, and there's no obviously if you go first, they're behind here, they're 1 inch in this wall, and then it's very unlikely for you to be able to catch it. Obviously, if you've got jetpack things and move 12 or whatever it is, they're probably not going to make this move. But obviously, us as Death Guard, we don't have anything that's going to realistically go all the way over there, be able to get around the 1 inch of the wall and be able to charge them. So I've had it come up a couple of times on this map specifically. Most recently at Leeds when I played Josh Roberts in the round 5. There is the video of that on the channel if you want to go and see the back rep of that. But he did exactly this. He played the scouts here, and then he was like, right, I'm going to scout them backwards, obviously if he goes first. But what it actually enables you to do, because if you put these back here, 9 inches here only gets them to about here. So what I ended up doing was putting them exactly 9 inches away from the scouts, just blocking their ability to actually scout this way, because scout rules say that you cannot end a scout move, or you can't move a scout move within 9 inches of an enemy unit or deployment zone. Sorry, no, it's just enemy unit, actually. It doesn't say the deployment zone, I think. So by putting these potswalkers here, yes, they are almost certainly going to die if the opponent gets first turn. However, you've given yourself a very strong position to clear out what they thought was going to be an easy hold for them. They won't have planned to commit too many resources down here because they're so used to this scout squad going, yep, I'm here, and now I'm here, and I'm sort of untouchable, at least for a turn or two. And then as soon as you actually commit anything down here, they'll have something lined up down here, most likely. But by blocking this here, again, we tend to partner up spawn and potswalkers. So if they sort of go here, they've got different ways that they can go. But obviously, if you do the first turn roll off and you know that you're going first, you can move these guys 6 inches directly out there, or whatever it is. And yeah, so you have to be 9 inches away still. And the best that they could do is move either directly up 6 inches or directly down 6 inches. And either way, with your 8-inch move and then a charge, you're going to be able to connect with these scouts. And hopefully, the best case scenario is that you can keep these spawn sort of semi-protected. Because as soon as these guys are hidden and they have to start bringing stuff out again, yeah, they could just bring them out here. But at the same time, if you go first, these potswalkers could have been only 9 inches away from their deployment zone. So you take up the space here, and it forces them then to have to bring something out over here to potentially go and melee these, or out here to be able to shoot them. And again, spawn with the maths, it's quite difficult. -1 to hit can ruin any melee. Toughness 7 can really hinder anything unless it's particularly strong power fists or things like that. And then the Feel No Pains can just spike. And obviously, if they don't kill it, then you've got the potential of switching your Contagion for OC or on to save, and then killing them with your next wave of attacks. So if you see your opponent have a scout unit, an infiltrating unit that can scout as well, I would be surprised if they didn't put the scouts here with the full intent of going, right, I'm going to drop them here and then moving them behind this wall. And you can stop them entirely from doing that by just placing these potswalkers here. Yes, it's a 65-point cost drop here, and if they do go first, then they'll probably just move behind here anyway. But it's the opportunity to really sort of hinder their natural expansion, as it were, by stopping them being able to do what they were planning. And then down here, if you end up killing these scouts with the spawns and potentially the potswalkers if they went this way, that's an annoying bunch of units for the opponent to have to send resources, because as soon as they start sending resources down here, they're weakening themselves up here, which is where you're probably going to be hopefully holding your own expansion and battling in the middle with the rest of your army. So do keep an eye out for this little trick. It does work, and it's something that will catch your opponent off guard, because they would be so used to dropping them and then going, I'm going to go back behind this wall, and you can't. So yeah, keep an eye out for that one. So if the opponent doesn't have the infiltrating unit down here, I'd still potentially send these spawn over the side. They can be quite annoying, and you can tow them on and hopefully force the opponent to send something real. Obviously something a lot harder to spawn a lot harder to kill than the potswalkers. but I tend to like to start the spawn here just because it gives me the option of going towards that side, or if I need the extra bodies in the middle to be able to screen the opponent jumping through. Because if they've got some fast melee units, again, it's a really short engagement. They can potentially advance and charge with something, or get some stuff through here, and then they would be looking to, if I had like a Plague Marine set up here, or my Land Raider, or whatever it was here, they could be looking to charge and get through into this area. If these spawns just scout up to here, they take out a lot of that risk. Because they can potentially connect with the spawn, maybe kill them, but then they will be stuck out here and they won't be connecting with stuff that's a little bit further back. So spawn in this sort of location here is a good sort of place. And then they can also, if you really want to sort of YOLO, they can get out quite far. They can get onto this objective first turn. If you're playing sort of Villain Veteran, that's a nice sticky before the game starts, obviously, because the scouting happens and then the command phase. So you would sticky that mid, and potentially the same up here. And then an 8-inch move gets you sort of right in the midst of it, because they're almost certainly this is where they're keeping their safe units. So getting a spawn into something that doesn't like melee isn't going to be able to do a lot of damage back, or whatever it is, with the -1 to hit would really hinder a lot of people's ability to move out. Obviously, if you can connect with things that will need to fall back and shoot or anything like that, it'll be pretty good. So spawn, I find the best place is here. It allows you to go across to this objective, or it allows you to sort of turbo aggro the opponent. So if these Chaos Spawn partner up with these Poxwalkers, what do these guys do? Well, these guys, again, are really useful as a move block. If you're going to get charged by a really fast moving melee army or something like that, these can just come across and be like, okay, cool, I want to make sure that you're not going to connect with me turn 1, so stay off the objective, and step in 2, make it so that it's going to be really difficult for them to actually get through to your juicy stuff. The spawn in that instance are a really useful roadblock. Obviously, the 6 inches can also, in a shooting matchup, I've done it quite a few times where they just end up going down here up against this wall. Obviously, TTS being silly, and they go up to here, and it means that they can't shoot the spawn unless they potentially come out onto here, and obviously they can't just tiptoe over. As soon as they touch this rune, they're shootable, so you've got something down here that can potentially threaten up here, like a heavy blight launcher drone, and then they won't be getting an angle from here onto them. So it's a really nice sort of like cheeky little safe space down here that you can get to with a spawn. And if you've got obviously the infiltrating Poxwalkers up here, you kind of secure that scout move. So depending on the matchup, you can become the move block, like I say. And if you are needing that, you've got both sets of spawn there, which would mean that there's pretty much no way they're going to get through both sets of them to be able to get through to, say, the juicy stuff that's going to be on this line here. So yeah, these are the sort of positions that I would like to put the spawn and the Poxwalkers if I can. Obviously, if this doesn't happen, these Poxwalkers I probably would end up having it just on my home as a deep strike denial. They're perfectly good at doing that. You can sort of semi-reinforce up here just so that you don't get deep struck on by them turn 2 or something like that. So if they do end up just getting charged here, you've still got a contagion spreader out here to be able to do -1 save or something like that, to be able to get enough damage onto them. But 9-inch in here means that they're probably not going to be able to shoot it turn 1, even if they do try and commit into these. And then you've got the OC to be able to hopefully hold it, because you'd probably be happy enough to keep the 3 OC that you can get on with the base sizes, or potentially 4, depending on, I think maybe you can with the Poxwalker's base size. So you're holding that objective and these guys are safe. You are screening pretty much the left side of the board, so you're not going to get surprised by a strategic reserve or a deep strike, and you're doing that. So this would be my more common sort of setup, because of the opponent not having infiltrate, but I would always keep an eye out for this little trick that you can do to sort of trap them. If we take a quick look at the secondaries here, we can see that it's obviously quite a bit easier to do some of the objective-based ones. Obviously, secure no man's land, you can do that very easily. Area denial, pretty easy. You probably are sacrificing spawn at this point to get there, but you could potentially be annoying with it, say with the scout, and then place them here, which means that they can't, if you want it to the wall, they can't just come through this wall. So it gives you a bit of protection there. Cleanse, you could obviously just do something like this and tow a Potswalker onto it here, or whatever it is you need to do. In fact, they can cleanse from behind the wall, so you're okay with that. Sabotage, you're happy up here, recover assets, and yeah, most of the thing, because there's so many objectives and it's quite an expansive board because everything's concentrated into the top right and bottom left. You can usually get a good draw on secondaries. Obviously, things like behind enemy lines and defense stronghold, you can't do first turn, you get free redraw. So the only thing that's particularly terrible here is like overwhelming force. But if you've trapped them in here and you go on first, that's perfect. Assassination is a bad draw, but potentially a CP if your tie man doesn't give you anything. So, and Mark for Death, obviously that one kind of sucks, but you could pick a gamma target or focus on the fact that it will just be a CP at the end of the turn. So this layout is sort of what I'd go for. So I mentioned before the heavy blight launcher drone. This gives you the flexibility to just pop out here. You can shoot straight down the middle with the 36 inches to sort of reach this objective, which is cool. You've got a sort of an angle down here you can keep semi-safe from, moving a little bit further in, so they do have to come out and commit. And then you got the Talon just holding home. If these guys didn't go up here, or these guys, or whoever it was, they could be holding home, and you could switch the Talon for the Potswalkers down here. Depends how much sort of deep strike threat your opponent has. And then what I tend to do is say, if I'm going first, these guys are just going to be move blocking as much as they can, or potentially connecting. If I can cause as much disruption and I don't have to do area denial as a first turn or cleanse or any sort of actions in midfield, I am move blocking the opponent as much as I can and pushing out. So they will scout that sort of way. These guys can move sort of their 8. As mentioned before, these guys will probably be sort of up to here. So I've got a reasonable charge from all of these. Those guys can just move their 5. And I'm covering as much as the board as possible, because if you put units on every single objective, obviously you might struggle down here or whatever it is. If you can put them on it so that you're all going to be scoring the 10 and potentially more, you're going to make it so that they're going to have to extend to deny them more of the secondary, but also they're going to have to use their assets to clean you off, which they might not do. And then you've got a bit of a primary lead at the start, and you can hit hard with your second wave. So I do like going first on this map again. Obviously, bottom of turn scoring is pretty huge on this one, because you should just be able to, at the end of the game, just walk on to 2 objectives and hold one at the end, of potentially 3, and then that's it. You've scored a 15 on the points. But if they push out, you can get the Land Raider out, say 6, and then go 4, and then you're on that objective as well. So that's its OC5 just on this objective, which is pretty great. You get out 3 to sort of here, which on this map, a trick that I like to do is have Typhus in with another unit. So you'll have 2 units coming out of the Land Raider, because then you get 2 charges. And if they've got a weak screen at the front, you can charge them both into the weak screen. Hopefully Typhus can kill whatever it is that are weak, and then the Blight Lords or Plague Marines or whatever it is that's coming out of the Land Raider with Typhus can charge, and then they'll be able to pile into things at the back. And that's generally where people have their good stuff anyway. So if you can get 2 charges off from the Land Raider with Typhus and the Blight Lords or the Plague Marines, or as well as the spawn going through, potentially the Potswalkers as well. One very niche strat, and I have got a video on the channel for this, with the Champions of Contagion, is the mobile vectors stratagem. So if these Poxwalkers moved out, Typhus gets out his 3. He's within 2 inches to be able to join into this unit. So he can, for 1 CP, join this Poxwalker unit. So then they've got their 4-inch charge or whatever it is with Typhus. And then he's got his ablative wounds and some extra attacks there. If you've rolled your tally mine, you can potentially give these crit 5s or whatever it is to really try and compound that first turn aggression. And yeah, it can really catch your opponent off guard, especially with Death Guard being quote unquote slow. This is something that can really put them on the back foot, and it's obviously a style of play that I tend to like to do. Be really aggressive, and then these Plague Marines, if they're not the ones that are in the Land Raider, they can move up to threaten anything on the counter charge, anything that comes out here, or potentially advance back into the Land Raider, or whatever it is that they need to do. They probably would have started in the Land Raider on this map, just because having 2 deep strike threats is really quite powerful with how wide the map is. So I'd have the Lord of Poxers and the 5-man Plague Marines in reserves for a rapid ingress. They have a really good line of sight blocking terrain if they can come on sort of down here. And obviously if they're 18 slow up, they can sort of come out here. And if they've not taken this point off you by then, they can reinforce there or potentially threaten up here. They're one of the few things that probably could come on this sort of board edge and threaten whatever they're holding here, because 18 slow up, they're probably not pushing that far out with their guns. So you can then have a 9-inch rapid ingress with a 4-inch charge for your next turn. So the Poxwalker, the Lord of Poxes, and the 5-man are really good on this search and destroy layout. I'm a big fan of it. So yeah, give that a try if you haven't. I think that's probably it for the tips on search and destroy on the 6 layout one. The round 5 is slightly different, although the things are similar, but I will go through that as the round 5 mission. And yeah, thanks again to everybody for joining me on this journey. I hope you are picking up some useful tips and tricks, and everyone's getting ready for LGT. Say I'm not going myself, but I will be keeping track of everyone. But thanks again for watching the video. Please do like and subscribe and leave a comment if you are got any more things that you'd like me to talk about. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one.